Welcome back to Design 224 AutoCAD certification at Ivy Tech Community College. In this video, I want to go through just some final notes to get you prepared for the day of the exam so that things will run as smoothly as possible and I can hopefully answer a lot of questions before you actually show up to take the test. So I think going through this together is going to make test day go a lot more smoothly. So I'll try and keep this as quick as possible. The most important thing is make sure you show up on time. At the beginning of the semester, remember that I had you sign up for a testing slot or a time slot. Make sure you are here at the beginning of that time slot. You can't show up 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late or 15 minutes late. You need to actually be here seated, ready to go at the beginning of your time slot. So when it says 8 a.m. or whatever time period you've signed up for, you need to be seated in the room, ready to go with all your belongings put away. If you show up 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late, you're not going to be able to take the test. So make sure you're here ready to go at the beginning of your time slot, whatever time slot you signed up for. Okay, so looking at some other stuff. When you guys show up for the test, I'm going to have everything set up already and prepped for you. I'm going to have the computers turned on. I'm going to have AutoCAD running already. I will have the online browser or the online testing software running already. And I'm going to have a session ID number put up on the whiteboard in the testing room. And what you're going to do is, this is the online testing browser that you'll use. And you'll input that session number right here. And then once you put in that session number, whatever it is, it'll obviously be different than the one I just typed in. I'm just using an old one so you can kind of see how this works. But once you type in the new session ID number that I have up on the board for you, then you'll be able to set up a username and a password. And this is the username and password that will be used only for your testing account. So if you've downloaded Autodesk products before, like AutoCAD or Inventor, you don't have a username and password in here, I promise you. So you're going to have to set up a new username and password in here because you don't have one and you've probably never ever used this website before. So I usually tell people to use their Ivy Tech email address and set up a password they can remember, like their Campus Connect or Blackboard password. So it will go through, it'll ask you some questions. It'll ask you probably for your contact information, your address, and it will also ask you if you want to be listed in the database if you pass the exam. Now, the database is basically a national database that lists all of the AutoCAD or Autodesk certified professionals, so there's really no disadvantage to doing that in my opinion, but it will ask you that as well. And then once you get all that filled out, it'll actually get you where it'll say waiting for proctor approval, and at that point I'll kind of brief you on what's going to happen from then on out. But the day that you come to take the test, you'll have to set up a username and password in here. So when you come to take the test, I'll have everything set up and you can begin making your username and password. Remember, the test is 35 questions. You have to get 27 right, and you have a total of 120 minutes or 2 hours. And you can go back and forth between the questions as many times as you want to. So if you want to skip one and come back to it later, you can. And I tell people, try to spend about 2 minutes on each question on your first run through. That will take you 70 minutes roughly, and that's going to give you some time to go back and answer questions that you didn't know. So try to spend about 2 minutes a question on the first run through. You will get scrap paper and a pencil, and that's all you're allowed to have during the test. So you can't have a calculator, you can't bring in books or notes or phones or your computer or your laptop or your tablet. So all you get is the pencil and paper. So please keep any electronic devices put away, or just leave them at home that day or locked up in your car or wherever. If you need a calculator, remember that you can use the quick calc command in AutoCAD, which will bring up kind of a built-in calculator into AutoCAD. So quick calc will work still during the test inside of AutoCAD, but you won't be able to use the Windows calculator, this little guy that you're used to, if you need a calculator. So stick with the quick calc if you need one. When you're done with the test, make sure you give your scrap paper back to me so I can destroy it, because they're very picky about information from the test leaving the room. So any scrap paper has to be destroyed. And obviously in the the same vein there, if anyone talks during the test, I have to invalidate your test. So please make sure you don't talk to anyone else that's taking a test that day. If you need to take a 5-minute break in the test, 2 hours is a long time. I understand that, to sit and work continuously on something. So if you need to take a 5 or 10-minute break in the middle, you can. I can only let one person take a break at a time. But if you need to take a break, if you're worn out halfway through and you just want to get up and move around and kind of stretch your legs, just raise your hand quietly. I'll come over and we'll pause your test. That way your timer's not counting down while you take a break. And when you come back from taking a short break, then I can sign you back into the test and I'll reapprove you from the proctor workstation. And at that point, you can resume your test right where you left off. When you take the actual test, remember that there's a set of files that they're going to tell you to reference on a lot of the questions. So they'll give you a file to open up and modify, just like on our practice tests. So the files are typically located at this file path. And I'll write this on the board as well the day of the test, and it will also be on your computer screen. But it's very important that you know where these drawings are. So you'll go to C on your computer, your C drive, Autodesk Exams, and then the AutoCAD 20 whatever folder. So whatever year of the software you're taking, whether it's 2013 or 14 or 15 or 16, that will show up here. So you'll look in that folder, and this folder is kind of weird. It only shows up when you are running this online testing browser. If you close the testing browser, that file folder magically disappears. So the only time you ever see it is when you're taking a test. And I've actually looked on some of the lab computers before just to try and figure out how they do that and where it goes, and I have no clue. So it's pretty well secured. But this folder will only appear during the test, and after the test, it'll disappear. If you mess up one of the files beyond repair and you can't get it back the way that it was so that you can answer the question, there is a refresh button in the online testing browser that you can hit, and it will give you a fresh copy of all these files at the same location. So it basically overwrites all the versions of the files that you had in there. So if you totally ruin one of the files and you accidentally save it and you can't get it fixed, just refresh it and it'll give you a fresh copy of everything. If you accidentally close AutoCAD during the test, this is another big one. You probably noticed when I ran this Autodesk online browser that I lost my start bar down here, or my task bar. That's the reason for us having to do Alt-Tab all semester to go back and forth between your testing browser and AutoCAD. So when you're taking the test, you're not going to have your taskbar down here. So if you accidentally close AutoCAD, there's no way for you to open it back up. So if that happens, and it happens, at least 2 or 3 times every test day, because I have 20 people taking the test, and just by accident somebody closes it, so it's not a big deal. But if you accidentally close AutoCAD, immediately pause your test, because there's no way you can get it back open on your own. So don't spend 3 or 4 minutes trying to figure out how to get AutoCAD relaunched because you don't want to embarrass yourself that you closed it. It's not possible for you to get AutoCAD started again. So if you accidentally close it, no big deal. Just make sure you pause your test, raise your hand, and I'll come over and patch everything back up and relaunch AutoCAD for you and get you back on your way. But make sure you hit pause so you don't lose a couple of minutes of valuable time. After you complete the test, there will be a pop-up menu in the Autodesk online browser. It's kind of harsh. It says pass-fail, so they don't really sugarcoat it, but it will pop up immediately and tell you your score out of 35. So hopefully you got at least 27, but it'll pop up right away and tell you pass-fail. And make sure you show me your score on the exam, your raw score out of 35 points. I want to know how many points you got, because remember that this is going to go into the gradebook. You have a 35-point entry in your gradebook for the actual exam. So whatever raw score you get on the real exam will go into your gradebook, and that's how I figure the certification into your Ivy Tech grade. So you don't necessarily have to pass the exam to pass this class. We just want you to give it a good, honest attempt. So make sure I see your score before you leave. That way I can record it in the gradebook and I don't have to put it in as a 0. So if you don't show me your score, I'll have to put it in as a 0 because I don't know what it was. So I have no way of seeing it unless you show it to me. If you didn't pass the exam at the end, so if you unfortunately see the fail message, please quietly collect your belongings. If you're disappointed, I understand. You've put a lot of work into this probably. But at that point, you're free to leave once you show me your score and I record it. So you can collect your things and leave. You don't have to wait for the end of the 2-hour time period to expire. If you already are done, you can, head on out. That's fine. And if you do pass the test, so if you're one of the fortunate people who did get 27 points and you see the magical pass message, we can print out certificates. I print them for people on cardstock, and put them in a little certificate holder. But we'll have to do that at the end because it's kind of noisy and it's kind of a process to get logged into the website and download the copy of your certificate as a PDF and print it out. So once everyone passes, or all the people that have passed, I'll kind of hold you back till the end. And once everyone's done, then we'll go back and go through the process of printing out certificates for people. And I'll show you how to do that if you pass the test. But if you pass the test, we're going to wait till the very end to print out certificates and take care of all that housekeeping stuff, just so that we're not bothering people that might still be finishing. So that's kind of the end of what I want to tell you to prep for this exam. So I'll see you guys on test day. If you have any questions, as always, you can email me, jhamilton83@ivtech.edu. If you have questions about the procedure of how this is going to go ahead of time, I'll do my best to answer those. But hopefully, these 10 informational items, as well as the other handouts that I've given you at the very beginning of the semester, will get you prepped for what you can expect when you actually come take the test. So remember, I also have for you in Blackboard a couple of other informational things. So I would recommend you go back through and read under our certification test info. I have tips for passing the exam. I'd recommend you look through that again one more time. And exam rules for test day, I'd recommend you look through that again one more time. But we went through these at the very beginning of the semester. So these two would be review for you. But just 10 things to keep in mind as you prep, and you've put in 7 weeks now to prepare for this test, what to expect and what to be mentally prepared for the day that you come take the test. So make sure you get a good night's sleep the night before. That's always good for any test that you're taking. So get as much sleep as you can. Make sure you get up early that morning so that you're awake and aware when you come to take the test, especially if you're in the morning session, so that you don't show up asleep. Try to exercise maybe before you come. That helps wake you up and helps get your brain going. So, and above all, I hope that the information that I've put together for you in Blackboard over the past 7 weeks has prepared you for this test. And judging by the scores that I've seen in Blackboard, I'm feeling good about you guys and your possibility of passing this test. So I like this online format for the class, and I think it's going to give you an above average chance of passing this test. And it's a difficult test, but judging on the scores I've seen in Blackboard, I think a lot of you have a really, really good chance of passing this test. So I want to wish you the best of luck. I hope you've learned something this semester, and I hope you all will end up with an AutoCAD certification, because I'm cheering for you. So I will see you guys on test day. And if you have any questions, remember you can email me. So good luck, and I'll see you in a couple of days.